Yes, people, yes, people, yes, people. Welcome back to the We Talk Football podcast. Back like we never left. How you doing, Quakes?
All good, man. All good. Interesting midweek round of fixtures in the Premier League. Obviously, Chelsea didn't win, so not the most pleasing week. But yeah, I'm all good, man. I'm all good. I'm surviving. I'm thriving. And here we are.
Fantastic, mate. Well, speaking of the midweek fixtures, we've got JCC in today to talk Fulham, to talk, the Gerrard sacking. He was at the game last night. So how you doing, my guy?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you for having me. It's an honour to be here. There's a crazy amount of games this week, isn't there? There's so many. Yeah,
there was a lot of games. Almost like a bit overwhelming in terms of just like there's a lot of football now. Up until the World Cup, and it's just like a race to make sure that you don't get players injured, and the race to make sure that you're in a decent position for post World Cup.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, we speak about there being enough loads of games. There's also crazy amounts of like football in news in general. Obviously, we're a few days removed from the Ballon d'Or and Benzema getting his. I would say rightfully so getting his Ballon d'Or. The one question I've had though, and obviously Benzema is like he's the king. You know what I mean? We're all waiting for that video to drop online where he's showcasing that win.
Yeah.
One thing I want to know is when are the Premier League going to integrate, like tunnel fashion walks like the NBA does? Is that something we need?
The thing is with the Premier League, like a lot of the players, because of like the nature of British media, a lot of players are like a bit muted. And they're not really as expressive as like American players. So like it would be lit.
I don't care about the muted players, bro. I'm thinking like I want to see ASM rock up in like a Russell Westbrook style.
But then
outfit.
for every ASM you've got like Dan Burn. What's he going to be rocking up in? Do you know what I mean?
Bro, don't hate on Dan Burn. He might come up in all Balenciaga or something. You never know.
He might be dripping.
Maybe drippy Dan. And I don't know. Obviously it would be a sick idea, but you heard like with the reaction to when Todd Bowley talked about the All-Star game, how resistant we are in this country to change. So I don't know how a tunnel come and go down. Although, do you know what I did like? I liked the the post-match or pre-match, interview with Thomas Frank and Graham Potter. Where they were asking each other questions. I thought that was quite cool. Obviously getting insight from different managers. I thought that was cool. But I would love to see a tunnel cam, but I don't think it's happening.
Would be cool. It would be really cool.
I think they need to do it. I mean, like, I think, there's lots of traditions that we need to keep in English football, and, we can't upset the tapestry of football too much, but things do have to move on, I look forward to seeing, whatever drip Draymond Green is like coming up to in an NBA game, or James Harden, or I want to say Russell Westbrook, but that guy is like, he's wild in his fashion takes. So like, I want to see that more in the Premier League. But anyway, we were talking about football. JCC, you're a big Fulham fan. You were there last night.
Oh, come off. Come off. It's like bullying your little brother. Leave it out. Yes, I was, yeah.
Talk to us, obviously, with the news breaking last night that Gerrard got sacked. Talk to us about that, man.
Oh, okay. So I was at the game. Villa are so bad. They needed a change. Their own fans were singing "You'll Never Work Again" to Gerrard from about 30 minutes through. We had, I think, 80% possession, 78% Fulham. The sending off did not change it. And our next three games, so we had Villa, sack Gerrard. We got Jesse Marsch coming up Leeds. I'm hoping we get him the sack. And then we got Frank Lampard. We could do the trio, the three-peat. Get rid of them all. But no
way. Could you imagine? Just literally just there taking skulls.
Well, mate, Gerrard, I don't know how he got back from West London last night. Had to Uber or something on his own, I think.
Oh no! Well, is it true? So obviously you're at the game.
Yeah.
I saw on Twitter that they were saying you slipped on your ass.
Yeah, they were going for him. As in, he didn't. I don't think he even went up to the fans or anything, gave him anything. Just head down, straight off the pitch, gone.
I think he knew. Before the game. Obviously, if they win, it's hard to sack him. But I think he knew if they lost, no matter what the loss was, but he lost 3-0.
Yeah.
It was gonna be like curtains for him at Aston Villa. And if you like review his job overall at Villa, it's been fairly disappointing. They sacked Dean Smith, who was one of their own. Brought just Gerrard, who had this aura, whatever that may mean, and he's not really done a great job. And the fact that he's got sacked before Frank Lampard is a little win as a Chelsea fan.
Do you know what? Just as not that I'm like a Liverpool fan or anything like that, or like to back Steven Gerrard in any way, but like there is a degree of like none of the players are performing either. Like you look at the quality they have in that squad. You can see another manager coming in, and I imagine that manager will be able to get something out of them. But staple signings like Coutinho, like came in last year, was like super productive at first, got the permanent move, and hasn't done it for him. So there is an aspect of like he's probably not a good enough manager, but like the players haven't been good enough at all.
Yeah.
And they're going to get off scot-free in many ways.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I actually said I said recently on a podcast that I think Coutinho is one of the biggest flops of the season, because people say Núñez obviously, but he's got that potential to come good. Coutinho has done it all in his career, and he's there just stinking up the gas. I'll tell you what, I watched them live last night, and they are the most non-team I've ever seen. You've got Ollie Watkins on the wing with Bobby De Cordova-Reid, a winger in fullback marking him, and Watkins had about 3 touches and most of them went off the pitch. He just looked, and he's a good player. It just when you see players struggling that much in a system, it's time for the manager to go. So I think they made the right decision.
100%. In the immortal words of Claude from AFTV, it's time to go. And it was time to go. It was time for him to go, and I think Gerrard would almost be a little bit relieved, because the fans have not been on side for the last few months. He's not done a great job since taking over from Dean Smith, and I think it beggars the question, what next for him? And I think you also got to cast your eye over to Scotland, and you look at, obviously I don't want to denigrate anything that Brendan Rodgers has done at Leicester, because of course he won them the first ever FA Cup. But he would look like God's gift when he was Celtic manager. Now he's struggling in the Premier League with Leicester. Look at Gerrard, again, who looked like God's gift when he was Rangers manager, struggling in the Premier League, or now not got a job anymore. We saw Celtic and Rangers, they've gone out of the Champions League groups in horrendous fashion. Scottish football needs to look at itself, because it's not looking great right now.
Oh, but, well, you don't need to ask me for my opinion on Scottish football. I mean, it's not, there's no translation between that and the Premier League.
Yeah.
I'm always there, poo-pooing these rumours whenever they say that, they would come over and be a top 4 side and stuff like that. There's such a gulf in talent. What I would say though, as much as there is that massive gulf in talent, there is an achievement in going an entire season undefeated. That is an achievement in itself for Steven Gerrard. So I'm not going to sit here and shit on his name.
You love Steven Gerrard, don't you?
You need to chill out.
You love Steven Gerrard. Do you fancy him?
Mate, I hate Steven Gerrard. What was it, 2004 FA Cup?
No, 2006.
2006 FA Cup. Broke my heart. Made me cry as a child. So I'm glad you got sacked,
Lovely.
Steven.
I was in attendance watching Cockneys cry around me. It's fantastic.
I'm glad you got sacked, Steven, mate. But do you know what I mean? I'm not going to sit here and badmouth him too much. But that's enough about Aston Villa. No one cares about them. They're somewhere up in the Midlands. Do you know what I mean? We're in London right now.
Oh, let's talk about Mitrovic, man of the moment.
Talk about. I want to talk Fulham. I want to talk the king of West London right now.
Yeah, he is the king. Well, him or Tony. Once upon a time at Newcastle together as well. I saw a picture of them two recently. I didn't even know. But
you know what's so interesting? When Tony goes and plays against Newcastle, because he feels like they done him wrong, he's got a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
But Mitrovic is actually apparently a Newcastle fan, so when he goes back, he kind of embraces it, and they do still have a little bit of a soft spot for him.
Yeah, they do.
There.
Yeah, I think they realised they didn't get the best out of him, and they got him when he was so raw, and he used to be really aggressive and all that.
Yeah.
But he's changed his game. Yeah, he is having an unbelievable season. I mean, 8 goals. I think obviously we can all agree, if Haaland wasn't a robot and didn't have 15, Kane's got 9, Mitrovic has 8, and you'd be going, oh mate, they're on course for 30 goals? This is amazing.
Honestly.
But Haaland's just broken all of the normalities.
But you know what that is though, and that's so interesting, because I feel like Haaland's raising the level. Do you know what I mean? I feel like when somebody comes around and they break the mold, it changes the level. When Messi and Ronaldo came about and they were scoring over a goal a game, then the standard is no longer 20 Premier League or 20 league goals a season. That's no longer good enough. It's now 30 is what the prime strikers are doing. And I think that's what Haaland's doing as well. And you're seeing Kane, you're seeing Mitrovic, you're seeing Tony bag so many Premier League goals already this season.
Shout out to Mitrovic, man. No one had him in fantasy last night, but I did.
Did you?
I think I did.
Well, I don't care about you. Where were you? You're 35th in the league, man. I don't care about you. You're irrelevant to me.
The thing is, I will say though, with Mitrovic, Haaland, I think Haaland hurts players like Kane in the sense that he makes his numbers look worse. But as a Fulham fan, I'm happy Haaland's in the Prem, because Mitrovic just sneaking away, doing his thing. No one's putting too much pressure on him. No one's thinking of tapping him up in January. I think if Haaland wasn't there, it'd be going, Mitrovic is top goal scorer in the Prem. He's got to be moving.
Mate, you're so right.
Why is he not at Chelsea? Why is he... Kind of, I'm okay with it. Just let him sort of simmer. Let him finish the season with just the 28 goals, or something. And it's no, it's not that good because Haaland got 60. It's good for us. It's good.
I like the fact you dropped in Chelsea, because I was talking to Jay before about this, and I think when we look at, I say this all the time, when you look at Chelsea strikers that have achieved in the past, and you look at Hasselbank, and you look at Drogba, and you look at Costa, they've got that burliness about them. They've got that bite in their game, and they've got that physicality, and the mentality as well to deal with adversity. And Mitrovic embodies that, and I can just see him being a Chelsea Chelsea striker. He's got everything that you need, and also he takes penalties as well, which I think is huge. I think it's an underrated quality, because when Harry Kane bangs in, when he scores 25 Premier League goals and about 7 of them are penalties, nobody's sitting there saying that he scored 7 penalties. It's just the man who's got the bollocks to actually step up and do that. And Chelsea haven't had that for a while, so that's me tapping up Mitrovic right now.
He's fantastic. Can we cut that part?
Yeah, man, that's getting scrubbed from the episode. Don't worry. But what we asked another Fulham fan, like Harry, shout out to Harry in 20 Years Plenty podcast. We asked him if maybe like a couple of months ago, who's going to get more goals this season, Mitrovic or Aubameyang? Who are you putting top of that list right now?
Oh, I'd go Mitrovic.
Yeah?
I'd have to say Mitrovic. I think Chelsea's goals, from when I watch them, you'll know more than me, Quaggy, but when I watch them, the goals come from different places, whereas Mitrovic is the centre of Fulham's team. And even last night on I think the Prime broadcast, Mitrovic was saying the manager has got, like he was saying it word for word, has set the team up around me, and that's why I'm happy here. Like, he knows the wingers get the ball, 1-2 touches, look for me. He was saying this all, and I was like, that's actually really direct. Like, you wouldn't think a player would come out and say that. But another thing, I'm just going to back my boy Mitrovic one more time. He's injured. He's proper injured. He hasn't trained in 20 days. He said it last night. Again, he was like, I haven't trained in 20 days.
That's scary.
I'm getting injections, all this. I'm just sort of, I know how important I am to the team. So, and you can see it when you watch him, when you go to a game, the Liverpool game, he's flying around the pitch. Nowadays, he's like walking, and you can see he's not right. But
I think that as well, when he's saying about the manager's play, like he's basing the team around my strengths, that's a dig at Scott Parker, because I remember the last time you boys were in the Prem, and again, I've got a few mates who are Fulham fans, and they couldn't believe the way that Scott Parker was playing Mitrovic, because he's off the back of scoring a lot of goals in the Championship like he is this season, but Parker wasn't playing to his strengths. All dropped him at points where he wasn't starting games, and his head went, obviously. But now he's the main man. He knows that he's loved, and you're seeing what a top striker that he can be. So big up Mitrovic.
He played Ivan Cavallero up front for an entire season and left Mitrovic on the bench.
It's crazy.
What are you doing?
It's crazy.
Never manage again. Idiot.
Were you buzzing when Liverpool spanked them 9-0 and he got sacked?
Honestly, I was, because he left us for Bournemouth as well, and then we beat them to the title.
There we go.
Fantastic, mate. Just let Scott know. Just direct to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, direct. I'll at him. Wears nice jumpers though.
Yeah, he does. Well, in terms of Premier League, like swag dons, like who do you reckon is the best dressed manager in the Premier League? I think Scott Parker was up there. Yeah. Even though I don't like him as a gaffer.
Well, what about your boys on a glow up?
I know, great, but he's on a proper. It's so funny because he didn't know what glow up meant, and he got asked it in an interview. He was just like, "Yeah, I'm aging like a fine wine." I was like, "That's my manager. That's my manager."
He's getting is it A-star trims? Yeah,
little star in the side of his head. In the Aubameyang just getting matching trips.
I'm still waiting for the first Premier League hype beast manager, but
Pep's rocking Stonies. Pep's rocking Stonies.
Pep is rocking Stonies. I mean, fair, but the NFL opening weekend, there was the guy who had the Supreme AF1 Nikes.
Mike Tomlin.
I'm waiting for that.
But he ain't going to get that. He's just a young African American coach. He ain't going to get drippy. Let's think who could. Yeah, no one's. Jurgen ain't doing much. Nah, Jose, when he first come, was slick, but it wasn't drippy. Do you know what I mean? But I think that's one to revisit.
That's one conversation I'm confident I can't put David Moyes in. My man's wearing.
Do you know what's so funny with David Moyes? He's wearing a tracksuit, on the touchline, and then in the press conference and on the coach on the way home, he puts on the suit. I'm like, surely you want to be more comfortable on the way home, but my man's just doing it different way around.
He's player manager.
Mate, stick him up there if we keep getting injuries, whatever. Yeah, I'm cool with that. But I need to know then. So Fulham, what's the ceiling for Fulham this year?
Before, I think everybody was worried, I thought top half, but Marco Silva, I genuinely think he's a genius. I think he's a really good manager, perfect fit for us. I don't see why we shouldn't be targeting mid-table, 10th. And that sounds crazy before, but you're looking at it and I'm thinking all those Midland teams are stinking up the league. I mean, Palace have flattered to deceive. They look good, but not great. Southampton look average. Bournemouth have got to drop off at some point. I think there's space.
Yeah, Brighton, since De Zerbi's come in, they've played decent enough football, but look like they're dropping off. I definitely think that top 10 is possible for Fulham. And you look at, you say, those mid-table teams that you would have thought would have pushed on, like Wolves and Palace, they ain't look great this season. Not it's the world is your oyster right now, and then we'll just pick off all your players next season.
Yeah, that's it. No, get off.
I think you can do better than 10th. I think as much as you are overachieving right now, I mean, teams like West Ham have done it over the last few years, where once you're on a wave, you kind of ride that. The one anomaly that's different this season is obviously we're going to have the Winter World Cup, which is going to disrupt the season massively. So I think seeing how teams come back from that, I think it has it's the fear of the unknown at the moment. It could be teams that are riding a crest of a wave, like Arsenal, could go into the World Cup, high on their success at the moment. That they could have a few players perform badly in the World Cup, come back, and suddenly Arsenal aren't the same team.
Yeah.
At the same time, it could be the other side of the coin. You could have Tottenham, who are starting to underperform, picking up losses here and there. Their players could go to the World Cup. If Harry Kane wins the World Cup, for example, he's going to come back firing, full of confidence. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
100%.
That's the one anomaly that I think we have right now. But I think Fulham can do better than 10th. I really do.
So where do you reckon they'll finish?
Where you going? Put a number on it.
I think maybe I think they can finish 8th. I really do. I think
So you got the top 6. Who are the top 6?
Yeah, obviously top 6 is let's not go into top 6, but it's going to be who's going to be
in that that's 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th.
Yeah, it's that bracket between your 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, but that I know West Ham aren't there right now, but I think your Newcastles, your West Ham, your Fulham, have the potential to be in that group right now.
Yeah,
because you've got other teams that are dropping out of it. Brighton aren't probably going to be the same side that they were. I think you can leapfrog them.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I hope so. Shout out to my boy Polina as well, by the way. I don't know how Fulham Football Club signed him. It's a joke.
He's a baller.
So
what was it? The game that I watched when I was like, how the hell did Fulham get? I think it was when you played against Liverpool, was it?
Yeah.
And he looked unreal.
Every game. Honestly, I watched it. I got a season ticket. I go home and away, and I cannot believe he's one of the, if not the best midfielder I've seen since Dembele at Fulham. I know they're different players, but he's just one of those players that I think if we can keep him fit, he is as important as Mitrovic, in my opinion, to Fulham. When you watch them, it just breaks everything up, flies through a tackle, and we missed him for one game due to yellow card suspensions, and we lost 5-1 to Newcastle. It shows you, when we didn't have him, he's that important.
Dembele, by the way, what a player he was.
I
mean, the ultimate streets won't forget player.
Yeah, I mean, you'll probably both love the shade on Tottenham, but I wish he'd gone to a bigger club.
I know what you mean.
Even Chelsea, if he'd gone to Chelsea, he would have balled out one Premier League.
He's unbelievable. His ball retention was a joke.
And you hear other retired players talk about him. Training, no chance. Best player. You can't get the ball off him.
Yeah.
Just one of them.
Yeah.
Apparently he was as strong as an ox as well. I've heard that about him.
Man,
he's just well-rounded, can do everything on the ball.
He couldn't score goals, unfortunately. That's the only thing he couldn't do.
It's true though.
But he was top, man. What player he was.
He had 5-6 goals a season to him, and he's probably at a top club in that prime.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you spoke about it a little bit earlier. You said that how Fulham are collecting heads and how you're gonna potentially start sacking. Well, be responsible for the sacking of managers. Who do we think the next Premier League managers to lose their job's going to be?
Oh, tough one.
It's tough. I think we all knew Gerrard was on the rocks, so I don't think we were surprised about that dismissal. I said it. I genuinely think Jesse Marsch could be in trouble just because you've got Fulham coming next, and if we Ellen Road, if we beat them, I think we could beat them, if we 3-1, 4-1, something like that, could be sticky. But I think he is quite good in front of you. We spoke about it off air. I think he's quite good in front of the cameras. I think he might be able to keep it calm a little bit.
Yeah.
But there's a few heads that could go.
He's very braggadocious. His demeanour, I think he holds himself in a way where he's kind of he's going to build an affinity between him and maybe the Leeds fans. It's kind of them versus the rest of the world.
That's exactly it. It is them versus the rest of the world.
And I think because of that, I think that could potentially buy him a little bit more time.
Yeah.
Plus, he is also a breath of fresh air. You knew as soon as he came in with gloves were up. He was ready to start swinging punches. But then you've got other people around him that are a bit more reserved. Everton, they're very much will they, won't they? They look like a lost side half the time. Frank Lampard could be out of a job if they don't start seeing themselves progress up the table.
Yeah.
I think Ralph Hasenhüttl as well. There's only so many games that Southampton can lose before they are really in trouble. I know they're kind of dealing with the Premier League in a very much different way in terms of they've invested young and they've brought in youth from across Europe and things like that. But I think they've lost 3 games in a row at this point. So I think Hasenhüttl could be the next player.
Hasenhüttl is. I think he is next because they did beat Bournemouth the other day, but I think they got pretty lucky with that one. And I think Hasenhüttl he's a dead man walking really at this point. I feel the fans have lost faith of him. The last couple of seasons, those heavy defeats that they've faced at the hands of Man United and Leicester. I think his time. I think his time is.
Well, that's what I was
ticking.
going to say. They have a 9-0 loss every season.
Yeah.
So that's coming soon.
Yeah. An absolute spanking. But an interesting manager though is I know did they win their last game? Leicester.
They won last night.
Yeah, they won last night. Yeah.
Brendan Rodgers is it's a stalemate because I don't think he wants to be there. They haven't invested as much as he'd like. He fancies himself as a top manager, but they can't afford to sack him because the compensation packet's too high. So it's like, do you know when you're staying together, like as parents for the sake of the kids, and the kids are just like, just divorce, just break up. This is toxic, it's not making sense for them to break up at the moment. So I feel like if the finances made sense, Brendan Rodgers would walk or get sacked because it's not making sense for him at Leicester at the moment. But with the way that Leicester are set up and the struggles they're facing financially, I think that he's there for the long run.
I do feel for Leicester in many ways. Like I know their fans, obviously they got a loyal fan base. I was a stone's throw from them when I went to university in Nottingham, and like I've been to the ground. Like they got a great ground. Like almost like I feel like they were everyone's second club a little while ago, and like you just could see them at the start of the season. You could see them struggling because, like you rightly said, they just didn't invest enough. I think Brendan Rodgers has done a great job. Like I really do. I think let's not forget he brought like an FA Cup home. Like last season, obviously turning you boys over. Tielemans' goal.
Turning us over.
That was a very sweet goal. That
turning us over.
I enjoyed it.
Turning us over.
Yeah, he turned you over, bro. You don't leave like the FA Cup final without the FA Cup. Lose 1-0 without being turned over, mate.
They've done it 3 times in a row.
Here they are. Here they are.
Yeah, mate. Big teams win finals.
Yeah.
I don't even want to start with you, mate. I don't even want to start with you. I don't want to start with you. I don't want to start with you either. I've just met you today, so I don't want to start with both of you. But let's not talk about. Let's not talk about this.
I mean, we won't talk about it. That's fine. That's fine. But I'm just saying, like they turned you over on that day, so it's cool.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think the writing is on the wall for Rodgers, isn't it? It's coming at some point. Like he knows he's gone, so it just feels a little bit like the end of a toxic relationship.
Just when it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And you look at like who's circulating in like managers available right now. You've got like the rumours of like Nuno going into Wolves and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, like Poch is without a job now. Could you see a Poch going to an Aston Villa? Is that too below him, or is that right level?
I thought Poch could have done a job at Leicester prior to this season, if that makes sense. Like I don't think anybody anticipated Leicester being where they were. If Leicester was sitting mid-table, I thought if they had the money to invest, Poch could go there, build his reputation up, similar to what he did at Spurs, and try and get Leicester into that top 6 where I think they wanted to be. But now I don't see Poch taking a Leicester job. It just seems like a disaster.
It's a difficult one with Poch as well because I feel like he like overachieved at Southampton, turned them into like a force. Then did well at Tottenham, and it's kind of like some people would say he didn't because he never won a trophy with the team that he had. Obviously got to the Champions League final, which is a huge achievement for Spurs, but then went to PSG and he struggled. He struggled in many ways. So like I would be intrigued to see that if Poch does come back to the Premier League, what type of manager would he be? Would he have the same desire that he had at a Southampton or a Tottenham where he's trying to prove himself? Or is he going to be the guy that's just got a massive pay packet from PSG?
It's interesting to see managers that leave PSG. I think Poch is a little bit unlucky because he had to manage such extreme egos. I mean, imagine trying to manage Mbappe, Messi, and Neymar. Because when you saw Thomas Tuchel, obviously I think Messi wasn't there at the time, so it's just Mbappe and Neymar he had to manage. And they got to the Champions League final. He managed to get a top job off the back of that. You look at Unai Emery, who managed PSG, and he got a top job in terms of the Arsenal job off the back of that. And I think Poch is so unlucky in terms of the way that the cards have kind of been dealt that he's not going to get one of the top jobs after leaving PSG. He did win the league with him last season. I know it's a given in that league, but the others didn't do much better in terms of what they achieved in France, and they managed to get really big jobs. Ancelotti, like everybody seems to get a good job after the PSG job, but Poch seems like he's going to have to drop down a level before he can get back up to where he was previously at Spurs. And I do feel for him a little bit because I do think he's a very good manager.
Do you know what? This is one thing that we haven't actually spoken about on the podcast, and I want to talk about this. What do we think of Mbappe right now?
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. I think you can frame it like, who would you rather have in your team? Or like Mbappe or Mbappe or Haaland?
I think Mbappe's the better player, the better footballer.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, I'd agree.
But yeah, you can't argue with Haaland's goal scoring at the moment. But yeah, I'd go Mbappe.
Yeah.
If you give me what are you saying?
Well, no part of me is like questioning his ability, and I think if he's not, next up, or I think he's like one of the next up. I think him and Haaland are like, hopefully going to carry the mantle of football when the inevitable retirement of Messi and Ronaldo comes, whatnot. Yeah. But what I meant is like, obviously he's coming out and he's like very much like saying pivot gang and things like that. He's almost like putting things on we put things on social media where he's talking about he doesn't like playing in the position he's playing. Now I'd understand that if he was playing in like a Stoke where he's playing in front of he's playing long ball all the time, but he's playing up front, in front of two of the most creative players of this generation, Messi arguably all time. Like, is there an aspect where you kind of just like Mbappe has too much power right now? It's like, play your game.
Definitely.
Yeah. They gave him the keys to the kingdom, and I don't think you do that in football. You do that in basketball because it's such a different sport, and it is such a capitalist sport. It's like, go get your bread, and then they have so much of an effect on the team because it's only 5 players on the court. But in football, you can't hand the keys to the kingdom to like a kid who has his own vested interests, because of course when he's not being played in the position that he wants to be played in, or the manager's not necessarily employing the tactics that he wants, he's going to throw his toys out the pram because he's never been told no. Henry said it in the CBS coverage of the Champions League. He was like, this seems like a kid who's never been told no. And Henry loves Mbappe, obviously being French. And it's like, it's a dangerous game to play in footy, man. I just don't think you can do that. And like, obviously they gave him everything because they wanted him to re-sign and not go to Real Madrid. But now you look at it, Real Madrid don't want to deal with PSG. Mbappe wants to leave PSG, and there's no real landing spots. Who can afford those wages? Who can afford that? So like, now he's kind of stuck. Obviously, we need to not forget how precocious of a talent that he is. He's already won the World Cup. He scored in the World Cup final. He's done a lot already. He's on track to be one of the greatest players this game's ever seen. But the attitude is a bit of a problem at this stage.
That's what I'm saying. I think that when you, obviously, because that's what made me think about it, is Henry making those comments. You know, when Henry said that, you know, playing in one of the greatest like club sides of all time in Barcelona, and he didn't want to play down the left wing, but he did it for the sake of the team. This is Thierry Henry. Like, if Mbappe is a big player, Thierry Henry is a bigger player right now. Do you know what I mean? Like, Mbappe might go and achieve more in his career, but Thierry Henry is one of the, he's in the Premier League Hall of Fame. He's one of the greatest players of all time. If Thierry Henry can sacrifice his game,
bro, and that's Thierry Henry playing with a young Messi who hadn't achieved what he's achieved now, you know what I mean? And playing with Samuel Eto'o. Like, Mbappe's playing with Neymar, who's going to go on to be one of Brazil's greatest ever players, and Lionel Messi, who's won everything and is probably the greatest player of all time right now. And he's
still performing well.
And so like, if you're playing out of position, you play with those guys, mate, chin it, because you should be one of the favourites of the Champions League right now. But like, I feel like the ego is just a bit much. And if you were to ask me in terms of Haaland or Mbappe, there's no doubt that Mbappe is a better player. But in terms of the lack of drama that you get of Haaland and the way that he handles his business, I'll probably take that over the circus that surrounds Mbappe.
100.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Haaland scoring the goals he has seemingly put the pressure on Mbappe to look at it and go, oh, he's getting all this attention, it's me versus him, and he started throwing his toys out the pram. And I also think exactly what you've just said. Like, Haaland's gone to City, and I remember games like a couple of weeks ago, he scored like a hat-trick or something, and De Bruyne and Pep are coming out in the interviews afterwards and saying, like, you know, they're getting asked about Haaland, and they're going, oh, he actually needs to improve aspects of his game. He needs to link play more. He's not involved enough. And Haaland's not there on social media putting cryptic tweets out crying, is he? Haaland's going, Kevin De Bruyne, Pep Guardiola, I respect this. And you're playing with Messi, like you said, Neymar, who, by the way, I think is criminally underrated.
Oh, ridiculously underrated.
And you're crying about it, and it's just like, little boy, sit down. Sit down. Listen to them. Like, you're a child basically in this game. Like, you can't be disrespecting the goats.
And do you know what? Not to discredit Mbappe in any way, but like, obviously, I feel like I've heard the opinion that, you know, Mbappe is a better player than Haaland. Like, he's more enjoyable to watch. But like, ultimately, Haaland's now, he's got 15 goals in the Premier League in his debut season. Like, Haaland's sat down the mental. He's doing it in a better league. Mbappe's like collecting a huge paycheck, rightfully so. Go get your money, my guy. Create generational wealth for the next 10 generations for your family. Do what you need to do. But I'm not putting disrespect on Haaland's name now, because he's just like, you know, he's a consummate pro and he's scoring goals. So, you know, Mbappe, if you want to prove yourself, get yourself to West Ham.
That's the narrative we need to stop with the Mbappe thing, because he has won the World Cup. He has won the World Cup. We need to remember that. He has won the World Cup.
Absolute baller. If he's not the best player in the world right now, he's probably like, well, I think Benzema is probably like arguably up there anyway. But if he's not going to be, if he's not, you know, if we're putting Haaland number 1 and Mbappe's number 2, like, people are going to interchange those. Like, you know, it's like the Messi Ronaldo debate. Like, if you're 1 or 2, both great. Do you know what I mean? Both great. But at the same time, I just think Haaland's doing it in a league where he's performing right now.
Are you Messi or Ronaldo?
You know what? You know my answer to this.
Go on.
I'm Ronaldo. Like, not at the moment, because I think Ronaldo's acts like an absolute petulant child, but I think Ronaldo in general, I think I resonate to him more than anything, because I think he's the personification of hard work, applying yourself, like, and just being driven and kind of dedicating your entire life to just one goal, and that's, you know, breaking every record that you possibly can. Whereas I feel like Messi kind of possesses this innate ability to like just do things on a football that we don't see often. It's like generational talent. As much as he was like fed like HGH hormone when he was like a kid at
allegedly.
Barcelona. No, he was.
Okay, but
as
like,
much as he was given like like unnatural like growths and like all sorts of stuff like that to help him grow as a footballer. Like we're talking about like the two greatest players in my opinion of all time. But from a personal standpoint, if you give me a pen and paper and you say to me, design the best footballer of all time, like you would make him Ronaldo's height. You would say he can jump 15 feet in the air like Ronaldo does. You can say that he can dribble, he can go past players, he can score, he can do it off both feet, he can score goals from any angle, he can he's probably good looking, he's probably marketable. Do you know what I mean? Like,
so you fancy Ronaldo. Gerrard and you fancy Cristiano Ronaldo.
I don't fancy Gerrard.
What you fancy yourself? I was gonna say, do you fancy Ronaldo? Do you prefer Ronaldo or Messi?
I think Messi's undoubtedly the better footballer, but Ronaldo's had the better career. That's how I sit on the fence with it. So I look at Ronaldo's career and I just think like exactly what Jamie said. Like, he's applied himself, he's proved it in every league. And yeah, he's scary, but I watch Messi sometimes and you see like these Twitter highlights go up or these Twitter compilations when they're like 47 minutes long of just Messi playing passes and you're like, this is ridiculous. Every single one, I haven't, it's a joke. So I'd probably go with Messi's the better footballer.
There's probably like 100 to 200 moments like that Messi's done which are just outrageous that would get into any other player's top 10 and like they probably wouldn't even touch his top 50.
Do you know what? For the longest time, and I am still a Ronaldo guy, I've been his biggest apologist, and I'm a bit pissed off of how he dealt with the situation against Spurs where he just walked down the tunnel before the full-time whistle. Always been a Ronaldo guy, and I think I still am a Ronaldo guy, but I've been down the rabbit hole of Messi compilation videos, and I'm just like, some of the things that he was doing at his pub. And people forget that when they were at their prime, there was like a 7-year period where they were both just going at it, probably 8-year period. Yeah. Messi was actually a better goal scorer than Ronaldo in terms of he scored more goals per game. It's crazy.
Just to jump onto that as well. So like I would say like the older I get, I do appreciate Messi more, and it might just be that because I know that they're both going to be leaving the game soon. But there is like a strong part of me that wants Argentina to put like a serious challenge in this year, just to cement his legacy, because there's always going to be the old heads that's like, Maradona was different gravy. It's like great.
Well, it's there for both of them, mate. If Messi wins the World Cup, greatest player of all time, undisputed. If Ronaldo wins World Cup, all these Messi fans can't deny the fact that my man's won the Euros, won the World Cup. It's no dispute anymore.
So JCC, you got to help me, my guy. Obviously, you come from. You're a prominent YouTuber. You make a lot of FIFA videos. I've seen that you've gone 500 and no on clubs. I'm going over 500 on clubs, man. I need a few tips.
Man, like, you need to ditch your friends.
Ditch my friends.
You got better teammates on clubs. Man.
I might be the friend though. I might be the bad friend. You know what I mean?
The bad friend.
I've seen him play FIFA. He's a bad friend.
He's a bad friend.
This guy can't talk about FIFA. This guy goes 1-0 down and suddenly the power cuts out.
No, I ain't rage quitter. I'm a fast controller.
The amount of times growing up, like I'm talking PS2 days, this guy would be like 1-0 up. He would just like edge his way closer to the PS2 so he could just like touch the off button.
The toes.
Like,
oh no! I
have to restart the game. That's the guy. That's that guy over there. And you know it's true from the laugh.
That is a guilty laugh right there. That is a guilty laugh.
He knows what he's doing. He's either doing that or we're playing Monopoly. He's stealing money from the bank.
Do that. No, I don't do that.
Yes,
I don't do that, mate. I'm an honourable Monopoly player. Like the FIFA thing, I'm with it on camera. I'm with it. I don't steal money from the back of Monopoly.
Okay,
he brings his own. You got to check
That's it.
I don't.
He's got a spare set in his pocket.
I'm an honourable Monopoly player.
500s can't keep popping out. But yeah. Obviously, we'd love to talk more FIFA and everything. What's one feature you would add to FIFA that you think's missing?
To pro clubs, I would add the microphone feature. So like if I'm playing against you guys and I score, we can start chatting. Or like a little proxy chat where if you're close to another player on the pitch, you can speak. Imagine you're like marking me and I'm just like giving you the stick down the mic. I think it'd be unreal, because obviously one-on-one FIFA's different to pro clubs. If you don't know listening, you play like controlling one player, so you can have 11 of you controlling individual players. I think the microphone situation would be chaos.
That would rattle me.
Mate, they'd have to change it to an 18.
Mate,
they'd have to change it to an 18.
Yeah, I know.
Imagine I'm like, we're losing 3-0 and I've got some 15-year-old kid
squeaking,
telling me to get good.
Yeah. You'd be fuming. I'd be fuming.
I've been campaigning for that for a while. But don't want it. They're not replying to that message.
All right, fair. Well, okay. One other thing I've got to ask. So, when you think about the best footballer that's good at FIFA, I would probably go to maybe like Diogo Jota, who's like different level. Do you think you could beat Diogo Jota at FIFA?
Yeah, 100%. Surely. Although
Let
that
him know.
guy sweats at Jota, I'm coming.
Yeah.
He's injured now, isn't he?
Oh, mate, down the barrel. Send your
Yeah.
message to Diogo Jota.
Diogo Jota, mate. I'm ready whenever you are. I'm ready.
That-
I'm
that-
ready.
Take two. That's no conviction
Well,
in
you're
that.
screaming
No,
that
not
night.
screaming, but just tell it with conviction. Say it in your chest.
But
Diogo.
he knows.
He
He knows. But to be fair, I heard he like plays it like an hour before kickoff. So I don't know, mate.
Well, he's injured now. He's been playing a lot of FIFA.
Yeah, he
so
is, he is.
you know what I mean. There's time, Diogo. Hit my guy JCC
Yeah,
up.
I'm ready. I'm
Where
ready.
can he find you on socials?
JCC on pretty much every socials, or World of JCC on most as well. Yeah, I'm here, mate.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
waiting.
Thank you ever so much for coming on
No,
today,
thank
John. We've
you.
got to wrap it there, my guy.
Yeah.
As I said, he's a World of JCC on Instagram, JCC on all social platforms. Go give him a like, go give him a subscribe. And Quaker, where can they find us?
You can find us at We Talk Football Podcast on Instagram, WTF Podcast 90 on Twitter. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're everywhere you can find podcasts. We're going to be back with more videos very, very soon. James is going to kill me if I don't shout out the TikTok, so follow us on TikTok.
Yeah.
And make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel.
Cheers, guys. Catch you next time.
Thank you.